Yes, dear students, we are going to restart our talk. Some interruption due to these constraints of technology. We'll start with the sequence of teaching, that is teaching listening, which is very important for a teacher of English to realize that listening doesn't take place all in one go. A teacher of English or a student of English just goes through some kind of a process. So I'll be sharing with you these remaining slides today, something that we discussed last time, and the other part of it we are going to discuss today. Now, when we say the forms of listening, we talk about pre-listening. Now, pre-listening is something that requires the teacher to create in the classroom an environment of discussion, kind of a prediction, some kind of expectation, and he should let the students feel that some listing text is coming up, and then I can ask them to discuss it. Uh, what is coming. So it could be a very interesting discussion, because when a teacher presents any listening text in the class, he will definitely take some text from a native speakers of English, because they are what actually constitute the standard British English or American English. So he will have some cultural or some linguistic implications for it. So he would have a little bit of a kind of a warm-up session of 5 to 10 minutes before he begins actually doing the kind of listening. So that's very important before actual listening take place. So you need to realize that listening is a process in which we've got three stages, three-stage sequence. One is the pre-listening, which is a form of a listening where the teacher is going to be the main speaker and you listen to the teacher, or maybe he can sometimes play the text for a very quick second or two to give you a hint of what the text is going to be about. So, and then he can also do some kind of exercises before he begins the real listening. How it all depends on the teacher, how he sensitizes, adapts, or utilizes his listening audios or videos or whatever he chooses to teach for the teaching of listening. So that's what happens in the pre-listening stage. I can just say that pre-listening is basically a kind of a warm-up process where students and teachers together, do a kind of a discussion on the expected topic or on the topic that's going to be presented in the class, or the kind of activities that it will follow. The next stage is what happens while listening. Now, while listening, the teacher has to play the cassette, the CD or the cassette, or the listening material several times. For each time he presents listening material, it has a different function. So, for example, if he presents listening text to the students for the first time, it will be a kind of a general information, very top-down type of thing, that what actually the students are able to make sense of. So the first time listening will be a listening that is going to be for general information. Then listening the second time, and when listening the second time takes place, the teacher can make frequent pauses. He can highlight some chunks of language. He can highlight some important information in that listening text, and then he can check the comprehension, whether the students are able to recognize these sounds, phrases, and words, or they are not able to recognize phrases and words. So then listening several more times, and every time the teacher stops, pauses, and asks questions from the students to answer those questions. And this all he does to demonstrate that the students are very intensively involved in the process of listening. Then he allows time for the completion of listening task. It could be, for 2 minutes, for 3 minutes, and then he will check them. The student should be responding in some physical way to the listening passage. either by indicating appropriate pictures or answers to the multiple choice questions, completing a cloze exercise, true, false, filling in the blanks of incomplete sentences or of a grid, or writing short answers to questions. Then listening the final time. All students should listen to, all students should confirm by responding in writing or orally to the teacher's questions that they've got the gist of the listening passage. So, I mean, this is what takes place ideally once the listening begins in the class. So the teacher, you would have noted, has to play the listening text several times. Whatever tape, whatever recording it is, he has to do it several times, beginning from small phrases, chunks, sentences, to the whole process of language communication. Maybe at times it is the one speaker, maybe at this time it is the two speakers, and then it could aid on into further advanced and critical listening. So the point to realize that uh, the listening stage or the listening form is the actual form of listening, where the student has to be very clever, very alert, very careful, very conscious, and very concentrated. I mean, very serious that something is going to come through his ears and he's not going to miss anything at all. And that he is going to be answered, he is going to be questioned from what he has listened just now in that 10 or 15 minute or 5 minute. The time duration actually varies in this listening process. So it depends on the teachers and the students how much it begins and how much it ends. So this is the process of listening taking place. And this is stage we call while listening or listening. So we had pre-listening and now while listening. Now we come to a point where we have post-listening process, post-listening stage, or a form of a kind of a discussion taking place in the class again, and we have now closed the tab, and now the student teacher are going to discuss. So what are they going to discuss? The teacher will discuss students' reaction to the content of the listening selection and compares their answers with his own. Now the teacher will definitely have a sheet that he will see that how the students have answered the questions that he made out of content. He will ask students through thought-provoking questions to encourage discussion about how the speaker's message relates to them. I mean, these are few things that the teacher would do to create interest or increase interest of students to listen to the text or what was said in the text or in the message, or how that message is related with their life, their student life, their future, their past, their present. Then the teacher can set students to work in pairs to create dialogues or synopsis based on listening section. So like, if you remember, we always work in pairs. I mean, you could work in pair and discuss what was actually said and what was good in the text, what was not good in that listening text, how much text was understood by one student and how much was understood by the other student. So the interesting point of the text from one student's part and the interesting part of the text for another student. So a kind of a discussion takes place between the two students sitting in the class, having listened the text and discussing. So a listening and speaking taking place. So listening is at times very integrated with speaking as well. But the focus here now for the teacher of English listening is only on listening. And then he can also, a good teacher of listening English can also engage the students in a role play exercise based on the text that was done. So I mean, he can assign roles to the students to come forward and say something. There are wonderful examples that we had done in the past in our classes, where we have a teacher, we have a parent, we have a principal sitting on the table talking to each other about very interesting issues related with students' lives, with schools' life, with teachers' life, with their practice. And then we'll get the feedback from the class once the role play takes place. And then also, finally, the teacher can assign reading and writing activities based on the listening text or listening passage that was present in the class. The teacher can do amazing things in the class. My point for all of you is that the first thing, once you realize that listening is a very serious, very important, very concentrated, and very badly required skill to all of us. Once you realize that listening, that the communication skills are going to be decisive in our life, critical in our life, in our academic career, in our professional career, you will find that there are lots of ways that a listening text can be associated with your life, can be related with your life, can be related with your academic skills, with thinking skills, with your, many other communication skills that are very important to develop your other skills. And top of all is communication skills. So my dear students, I will just close here this session now, this part of our talk, that listening has got three forms, three parts of the process or the sequence of listening. What a teacher usually does once he gets into the class. First thing, he has to prepare his students. He does the discussion, a kind of a warm-up, a brainstorming session, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, maybe making the students predict, maybe doing kind of small activities to increase their motivation, their interest, and their inspiration, and their willingness, more importantly, to listen the coming text. So that is what we call pre-listening. And then the second is while listening. While listening is a stage or a form of a listening where the actual listening takes place. The teacher presents the passages through listening. It could be anything. It could be beginning from small pieces of text to longer discussions between 2, 3, or 4 people, and then followed by a lot of exercises or role play activities in the class, which is the stage that we call post-listening. So this is it, that I'll close it. If there are any questions very quickly you want to make, you can make them right now before we move to another part of the listening after a short break. Are there any questions?
Yes, sir. I have a question regarding listening.
Yes, please.
Sir, how to develop listening stamina?
You know, you can develop listening stamina by creating willingness in yourself. I mean, if you realize something is important for your life, you eat food, you eat fruit, you drink water. Why? Does anybody need to explain to you that water is important, so you drink it? No. So is the importance of our communication skills. So is the importance of English language. So is the importance of developing a range of skills when it comes to listening to lectures, listening to announcement, listening to movies, listening to and watching to talks and many things. So the first and foremost important thing for all of you, my dear students, is that you will realize that listening, having a good listening skill or ability is crucial, is critical, is of very great importance. And it can turn out to be a very staggering reality in your professional life. If you are a weak listener, what you are going to do? You are going to fail in the interviews, you are going to fail in the Viva, you are going to get less numbers in the Viva, you are going to get less numbers in the interview, and you are going to have very poor impression of your personality and your academic qualification whenever you are put in a situation in that kind of context. That's very important.
Sir, Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Yes.
Zubair Ahmad is here. Sir, I have a question that many of the students while listening to the second language, they use subtitles for that language. I'm one of them. So does it come in pre-listening, listening, or listening?
My dear students, I would advise you never to have listen such a text where it has
Yes.
got subtitles. Once you follow the subtitles, and these subtitles basically block your thinking skills. So whatever you're listening, you will not think about the original language, the target language, the second language, you'll never think about. So subtitles are very dangerous for English as second language learners.
Yes, sir. I was about to say that whenever we watch movies or documentaries, we should not watch it with subtitles because we
Exactly.
will only be end up with watching subtitles
And these
instead of
actually are
listening to
meant
the
for,
words.
these are meant for
Yes, sir.
people who are taking English as foreign language, who are taking English as just for information, and not for language learners. Your focus
Yes,
should
sir.
be to make meaning of the out of the words that you listen. The first place you could be able to recognize them, and at the second place you could be able to understand them. Yes, please. Any more question before I close it?
Sir, there is not question regarding the topics we have learned, but the question is that I'm from MA final linguistics, Zubair Ahmed. Sir, असांजे क्लास जे छोकरनि खे इहा परेशानी आहे तनी जेको आहे सो उन्हनि खे लिंक टाइम ते नथी मिले छो त असांजो सीआर जेको आहे नवाज़ उहो शायदि हिन महिल बि क्लास में न आहे ऐं हू मतिलबु प्रॉपर तरीक़े सां असांखे इंफॉर्म नथो करे जंहिंजी वजह सां ग्रुप में थोरी जेके न चपलकश लॻी पई आहे तनी भाई असांखे जेको आहे टाइम ते लिंक नथी मिले ऐं असां टाइम ते जॉइन नथा करे सघूं सो असांजा
Do not
टॉपिक्स
be
रहिजी था वञनि
confused. Do not be confused. I have just shared with you my cell phone. You need to post your questions, comments on that, and we know in this COVID-19 situation, we need to maintain these social distancing and these SOPs. I hope that the situation is going to change very soon, inshallah. So I'll be closing this session for now, and we'll be coming back after let's say after 15 minutes break. We'll be discussing the another very important part of the listening process. So thank you very much. See you after 15 minutes.